What is up, my friends? Welcome to the channel. This is Demon Movement. In today's video, as you can see by the title, I'm going to be going over what I learned and what I earned on my first week doing Uber. So last night was a rough night for me. I just got home late, and I'm normally the type of person that tries to wake up at around 6 a.m. and get in tune with the circadian rhythm. So I like to get outside and let the sunlight hit my eyes, and that sets my circadian rhythm, my natural biological clock. It's one of the best things for health. And last night I went against my principles of good health by trying to stay out late to complete my quest. And I'm gonna let you know how that went, what the results of that were, as we get later into the video. So just to start off, I found out about doing Uber and the earning potential through my friend. I like to call him the king of Uber, to tell you the truth, because he showed me his app, and he had a lot of weeks where he was netting about $2,500 a week. And I don't know how much that is gross if you consider wear and tear on the vehicle and gas costs, maybe tolls. I would say maybe he's doing 2 G's a week. And he said it was about 50 hours a week. And that's, not that bad at all. I don't, and I believe him too. He gets a lot of tips, and he goes to the surges. So I think some of those weeks though, he might have been doing a little bit more than 50 hours. I gotta check on that. But anyway, that's what inspired me. Now, I still do some personal training. I'm a dad, I have kids. My friend's a dad too, so no excuses, but I'm a dad, I have kids, 2 kids, 1 more on the way. And I go to school 2 days a week to get my CDL, because I'm gonna start trucking pretty soon. I'll be posting about that. I test for my CDL in June, and I do a lot of physical exercise and training. So that that hours and those times have to get worked into my schedule. Otherwise, I don't feel like I'm at my top in order to do any job. So that's a little bit about me, how I found out about Uber. And my first 2 days, which was not a complete week, was last week. And I don't know if this is for all Uber people, but when you first sign up, they give you a really easy quest. The quest is the bonus, and sometimes your quest money can equal your driving money. Like my friend was doing literally $1,000 just in quests per week, and then earning another $1,000 driving. So the quests can be big part of your earnings. Now, when I first signed up, they gave me a 5-trip quest. So all I had to do was do 5 trips, and I got $250. So in 2 days, I don't remember exactly how much I drove, but it wasn't a lot at all. And I earned $525 in 2 days driving, I would say less than 5 hours each day. So the earnings there were great. It was stress-free. I had no issues, and I didn't get a lot of tips, but later in the video, I'll go into some of the strategies that I started doing to connect more with people and make the experience better, so that I did start getting better tips in my first full week. But my first 2 days, I was really receiving a lot less tips than I thought, a few really small ones. But anyway, let's get into my first full week. So the first mistake that I made, and this would be really helpful if you're new to Uber or you just want to sign up. Oh, before I go in, I'm driving in Washington, D.C. area, also Virginia and Maryland. I live in Rockville, Maryland. This is one of the highest paying states for Uber drivers in general. So my first full week, I had this conversation with my friend. He was showing me his app, and I got the $250 quest. So I was feeling good, I was feeling up, and I was like looking at the earning potential, and I was like, all right, let me choose this 80-trip quest, and my first day, when my wife was pregnant, she started to get nauseous at the end of the night, and she asked me to come home. So of course I did. She needed my help. It's a lot to raise kids, to have to cook by yourself, to clean by yourself, give the kids a bath, brush their teeth, put them to bed. The whole thing can be really stressful. So of course I came home. I was a little bit short on my quest the first day. I tried to make up my second day. My second day, I had some personal training clients. I had some school. I literally woke up at 5:45 a.m., I could have woke up at 5, but you know, that's when I did wake up, and there were rides then, which was good. So I made it up in these bursts, and I caught up a little bit. And then Wednesday, I just kept driving. I had the whole day pretty much to drive because I didn't have school or clients on Wednesday, and I drove a lot. But then I got hit with these long rides. And the one thing I don't like about Uber right now is that if you're just Uber regular, not the Uber Platinum or Gold, you don't get to see how far the trips are before you accept them. And I accepted this trip that took me 2.5 hours through traffic. It didn't pay that good, and it put me into an area where there were no trips, and there was a lot of traffic to get home. It knocked 5 hours out of my night when I was working really hard, getting up at 6 or 5:45, getting out of the door by 6 to get these trips, and really putting in these hours. And then it set me back again the day before my quest ended. So on yesterday, I also had school. I drove in the morning, I went to school, I went straight to driving. I went to DC at nighttime, to the bars, the clubs, and that's when I went against my own principles, which is the number one mistake. The stuff that I know I shouldn't let this app get me to be addicted, but that's what happens because the app is gamified. Just like Instagram, you catch yourself scrolling more than you should. Because they set it up to be addictive, because technology is addictive, chasing and earning money can be addictive, so the experience can be addictive. Now that can be a good thing if you use it to keep you motivated, but as drivers we got to keep ourselves in check because we are our own bosses, and we always have to take care of ourselves. We always have to be safe. I think it's important to keep your health, to keep your family, and to keep all of your priorities in check and in balance. But there's also this thing where when you see the quest is coming and you're trying to catch it up, you might try to stretch yourself and work too hard or too long on particular days because you don't want to lose that 400, because you're putting in all that gas money, you're putting in all that time, and that bonus might mean a lot to you. So I get it, and it's a learning lesson, and that's why I don't want you to make the mistake if you're just starting out on Uber. So my number one mistake, I set my quest too high on my first full week. And that's just a learning lesson, and now I'm hopefully that there's some other people that can watch this video and learn that lesson. Long story short, last night I had a rough night. It was raining. I was doing really good catching up because I was doing these short trips in DC, and I was like, this is what Uber's supposed to be right now. I'm like, trip after trip, they're all short, and I'm getting tips on every ride. But then towards the end of the night, it was like people were leaving the bars and just needed to go home. So that's when it started getting to be these longer rides. I had one ride that was 3 stops, and I read on the app, if it's multiple stops, you should get a point for each stop, but the app didn't give me a point, just gave me 1. And that really disappointed me because I would have been kind of close. And then I just said, you know what, it's late, it's raining, it's dark. DC is a very difficult place to drive, even worse at nighttime. And I just went home. I went home at 11:30. I didn't get my bonus, but I thought to myself, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to, get as much sleep as I can, wake up today, did some exercise to restore my hips, my glutes, my back from all of that sitting and all of that driving. And I will make a video pretty soon just showing some of the exercises and stretches that are good for restoring your body after doing prolonged periods of sitting for work. But long story short, guys, I didn't make that quest, but I have a new strategy, and next week I am going to pick the smaller quest for the weekday and the smaller quest for the weekend, and then try to do the same amount of hours that I did, which I did 36 hours in 4 days, and I made $1,000. I grossed $1,000, but I probably took home maybe 850, between 800 and 850 if you calculate tolls and gas that I had to pay. So but next week my goal is to make 1,000 or more. No, let me think. Next week my goal is to do 2 quests, and I'm going to do the smaller quest, but I'm going to do the weekend quest, and I'm going to do the weekday quest, and I'm going to stretch my driving out over the weekend time and the weekday time, and we'll see what I can make. I'm not going to put any numbers out there right now, but next week, if you guys follow along, then I will be posting a video showing my second week earnings, because I know I can do a lot better. and I know I can make those quests and do a lot better. So that's my first, number one, most important lesson. It's really the internal lesson of don't go against your principles. Don't let yourself get addicted or gamified by an app. And second is, start off with the lower quest and then see how your rides go, see how many rides you feel like you can handle a day, and then do that math to see what is reasonable for you during your quest. So that was definitely my mistake, but we all learn from our mistakes. Mistakes are opportunities for growth, as I always like to say. So let's see, I'm just going to talk about a few other things that I learned. So one thing I'm learning is how to read the passenger. When they walk into my car, I like to greet them by their name because that helps to establish a connection, and it also ensures that they have the right ride and they feel secure. And then I ask them how their day is doing. Some of them, if I know that they don't want to talk much after that, I can just tell, I can read them, then I keep it quiet, I don't over bother them. But if they make the eye contact and they tell me about their day a little bit, then I try to keep the conversation rolling because people seem to enjoy that. And I've noticed this week I've gotten a lot more tips by reading the passengers and talking a lot more. Another great question to ask your passengers is what music they like to listen to. Often people will just say, oh, whatever you have is fine, I like what you're playing. And they might start to ask you about your own music. But then they might say, oh, I want to listen to this. But even if they don't, they're going to appreciate the fact that you asked. It creates a comforting and a welcoming experience. So I felt like once I started asking that question, reading my passengers more, I started to receive a lot more tips. Those tips really added up. Even though it's just 36 hours that I worked, I made $1,000. I made probably like $130 in tips. So that's a decent little percentage, and that really works. The second thing is, this might take time, but you got to learn your area, start to scroll in and out of your map and find the surges. And then once you know what areas have surges, try not to waste your time going to those areas that have less surges or the areas that get less busy. You can always route your trip toward the area that you anticipate is going to have more surges, because I went to a lot of those areas and I got a lot of +5s, +7, or +3. And with the surges, all those things start to add up. The last thing, guys, is just take care of yourself. That you are your most important asset, and you have to take care of your health. I try to have healthy snacks. I like to get these keto bars called Boo Keto, BHU. They're mostly organic ingredients. They're very healthy fat and healthy protein. And I like to have that cup of water, a lot of water that I'll just have with me, as well as sometimes I'll get fresh juices, or even the juices that are already pre-made, and I like to have those. So those are my current snacks. And there's a drink called the Genius Smoothie. It's a mixture of coconut milk, coconut meat, and coconut water. So you're going to stay hydrated with the minerals, get your healthy fats, get your proteins, get some carbohydrates. And in between rides, I try to get out and stretch. I ended up going to a playground where I dropped someone off and I got like a 10 or a 15-minute workout, and then I just laid on my back and recovered my breathing, hand on my heart, and felt my breathing. And just these 5 or 10-minute resets, it really can be a reset, because when you're driving for that long, you have to be super focused. You got to pay attention. And drowsy driving is the only thing worse than drowsy driving, I'll say, is distracted driving. So obviously in Uber, you're not going to be a dummy and just be on your phone or scrolling. You're paying attention. But I think that where the Uber drivers can where it starts to get difficult, I noticed this in my own driving, I'm not as good when I'm tired, especially driving in DC. It's not that I'm like a terrible driver, but I just noticed I'm just not as sharp, I'm not as quick. It's just a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging. And if you actually give yourself the 5-minute break, the 10-minute break, it's going to be worth it. It's going to pay dividends, because your driving's going to be better, your night's going to go better, your day's going to go better. Because what happens is you get the request for your next ride before you're done with your first one. And sometimes I have to do a ride and then put, this is my last ride. Stop giving me requests, because I know if I just did a few, I need to get out of my vehicle, I need to stretch, take a deep breath, and then come back into my vehicle. So take care of yourself, give yourself breaks when you feel like you're getting tired, because that's going to, in the long run, make you feel better, which is going to allow you to drive better, and that's going to carry over to make the experience better for everybody. So I hope you found this video helpful. Stay tuned for next week's video, where I talk about how I made both of my quests and I share my much better earnings. But if you did find some value in this video, I hope you consider subscribing to my channel, liking the video, or commenting below. I would love to hear about your experience driving Uber, or anything related to the topic. So peace, and see you next time.